You can tell, COINTEL, my clique has never failed. My boat has never sunk, my ship has never sailed. My hope is never shaken, my spirit is never broken. My legs are never open, my words will always be quoted. My vision is focused. Tell the POTUS I don't trust him, he'll never be noticed. I think it's time that I put you all on notice. I'm the one, David Ruffin, I'll never be Otis. If I did it, then it better work. The music industry hates me cause I'll never twerk. I'm in a different world, each verse brings the metaverse. Optometrist, I change vision like the Oculus. Watch me fly over Metropolis. Tell all the populace, rise from sarcophagus. No hypothesis, I see apocalypse. Muhammad's disciple speaks like a prophetess. We got him like we got him like, yeah. We got him like. Tell the people we coming through and we got them like. It's Neelam from the west, coming strong, Cali's best. We got them like. Tell the people we coming through and we got them like.
See, I done came from the bottom. I usually choose peace, today we choose violence. And they don't really know what to do, and I'ma keep banging the truth. Lyrically impeccable, irrepressible spectacle. I could turn a vegetable into an intellectual. My ancestors celestial, go beyond the skeleton. Fact checking these rappers, none of these credible. If it don't apply to the fly, it's a hypothetical. It's just the type of that you kicking is unacceptable. If you're not helping me grow, I'm just not available. I want the whole left side of a decimal, incredible. I ain't even hardly reached my pinnacle. Jump in the cypher and turn it into a festival. Bang on the gang till the game need medical. I'ma keep grinding to the it's unpreventable. Middle finger, you haters, for that to be unprofessional. We is just not compatible. I am too undetectable. Put the pedal, the metal hitting your mental. My pen penetrating your sensory. You looking terrible. Whoa, whoa, all I see is green light bulbs. East New York, Brooklyn, let it go. My light might be an iPhone. Third eye, I see the rival. See my arrival.
We got him like. We got him like. Yeah. We got him like. Tell the people we coming through and we got him like.
It's that Nick from the East New York, we run the streets.
We got him like. Tell the people we coming through and we got him like.
You know. We the creme de la creme. They give us accolades, but that's God working through us. We send praises up to him. Brotherhood tight, sisterhood tight, nation building, team players. We all shooting in the gym. Got the guys with me, got the FOI with me. If we gotta go to war, then we fighting to the death. Not a betting man, but if I was and you ask me who I put my money on, you know I'm putting it on them. Come through, they gotta respect, they gotta tip they hat. Don't disrespect our women, word bond, we'll kill for that. In the field working with bullets fly like we in Iraq. I do this for the family, I rap, but this way deeper than rap. Stand up, solid soldiers with me, we don't back though. I don't deal with milk toast brothers like I'm lactose. Every time I come in first, they act like they was rooting for me. Whole time I know they wanted me to come in last though. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulallah. If it wasn't for you, I know I wouldn't have made it through Allah. Grant me protection on this mission that I pursue, Allah. I know with you behind me, there ain't nothing that I can't do, Allah. You know.
We got him like. We got him like. Yeah. We got him like. Tell the people we coming through and we got him like.
It's GC from the shop. FOI till I die.
We got him like. Tell the people we coming through and we got him like. It's Neelam.
Yes.
All right, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode. All right, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of Do Not Radio, place for knowledge. Your host, Knowledge from Live. We're here to honor our mothers. Okay, don't disrespect our women. Word bond, we'll kill for that. You understand? Yes. So it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some, present to others, a true and living mother, right? In the Islamic tradition, we are taught to not cut off relations with the wombs that bore you. So, womb reverence, we're going to be dealing with womb reverence and the consequences of womb neglect, from the celestial to the terrestrial. So again, it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some, present to others, one of my queen mothers, one of my extreme protectors and correctors. All right, she don't play no games about me, but she don't play no games with me either. One who has wrought this way and brings to us a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, overstanding, and understanding in the realm of healing, in the realm of truth, in the realm of scholasticity, academia, and did I say healing? Let me say healing one more time. Did I say healing? Let me say healing one more again, okay? In spirit and in truth. Uh, a mother, a friend, a warrior goddess, and proof that Allah comes to us in the person, the one, the only Queen Mother, MaWu Roo, is here in the building. Welcome back, ma'am. How you feeling?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, mashallah. It's such a beautiful intro. I'm like, okay, and thank you very much. Good night. I always feel that way after one of your intros. I just feel like, what can I say after that, you know? But thank you, and it's an honor to be here again on Do the Knowledge Radio, be able to share with the family, talking about something that I love, mothers, reverence and parental reverence, so
Yes.
so that is just it's just an honor to be here, and that the reverence that we'll be talking about tonight will, it's when we say divine feminine, so many times we just go to the female form, but we don't understand there's so much more than that. So to connect that to the universe, be able to do that tonight is a blessing. So I look forward to it.
I mean. How you feeling before we get into anything and everything?
You know what? I'm feeling fantastic and amazing. This weather is doing what it do, but being born on Groundhog's Day, I feel like it's
Mm.
my fault anyway. So cold, hot, cold. I'm for it all. I'm just grateful to be alive, grateful to be here, and recognizing that it's a wonderful time to be alive. So I feel fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. And I will that you are as well, and that your family is as well. These are crazy times, but beautiful times.
Right. These are the times that and thank you. Uh, these are the times that our ancients wrote about. They warned us. You know, we were warned, and we're still continuing to be warned by the grace and mercy of Mother Nature. Right. So, uh, reverence begins in all of these aspects. So ain't no mystery gods out here. You understand what I'm saying? So we got signs, we got symbols, we got warnings, we got all kinds of things in that regard. So I ask you every year, right? I ask you every year for your definition of mother and what it means to be mother and grandmother. From your perspective.
Um, Let me just say, it's such a honor to be a daughter. I want to start there. Being a mother, that came and that comes with continuous learning. But I realized more than anything else, in learning to be a better daughter, it helps me be a better mother and grandmother. So I spend a lot of time um making sure that when I examine myself for what I think a mother should be, or what standard I hold a mother to, be it my own or others. Same with grandmothers. Before I hold somebody to a standard, I take a look at myself and I ask myself, am I the best version of a daughter that I could be to deserve a mother that would be a protection and a covering for me?
Whew, let me drop the bomb, okay? So
Yeah.
succession from daughter, daughter into sister. What does the transition look like for you? A great sister, what you shared about daughter, and then having siblings and being sister.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that because it does have bearing on how I feel about being a daughter and a mother and a grandmother as well. I'm the oldest of my mother's children, and so when I say I start with daughter, I was a daughter first, but simultaneously as I became a sister, I became the first version of mother that I would be outside of my doll babies. And you see, I still got my doll babies, so I'm still doing that. but as a sister, I learned some of the foundational parts of in pieces of what motherhood looked like in my family, because what it looked like in my family didn't necessarily reflect always what I saw in other places, which I got to understand better as I got older. But for in your child mind, that is your whole world. So however your mother is, you think that's how everybody's mother is. How your sisters and brothers are, that's how you think that everybody's sisters and brothers are. I couldn't imagine not defending and protecting my siblings, but there are people who necessarily that's not how they were raised. But my mother raised me to be very motherly and protective of my siblings.
Yep, and you was somebody's mother, in that regard. If you the eldest, I say a special prayer for the eldest children, every night, and I light a mental and a spiritual candle for them because the eldest child, the experiment, you ain't come with no handbook or nothing, so they trying to figure out themselves, and depending on where they are within themselves, and what they've seen in life already, it could either be for your benefit or your detriment. So now, as you see that line of succession, depending on how large your family is, you get to see them, hopefully, prayerfully, by the permission of the Most High and our ancestors, that they get better with time. So that could either put a space of relief or some dissatisfaction, right? It'd be like, hold on, how they get away with this? You understand? Like, yo, you hit me with the phone book. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you
Yes.
hit me with the rubber hose, and you just talking to them like I was eking for them. Like, so hopefully, in those cases, things that got better with time. So when I explained that to the younger people, when I went to my children's school, you know, the older children, they understood. The middle children, like myself, they like, huh, right? And then the younger children, they got booed. The baby children, they booed them. You understand what I'm saying? And then I explained, what it was in regards to the positions, for each of those positions. I believe that those are positions that, we share in the family dynamic, but nobody speaks to them directly. They just either typecast them, or you might see some, you know, memes, or you might see some, videos that speak about them comedically, but not speaking to the mind frames that come along with it. And in the parenting space, I don't know if we do a great enough job with atoning in that regard to see what it is, as well. So
Definitely. I like, I love that because I think in every older child, you will always look at the younger ones and be like, they get away with murder, because you couldn't tell my baby sister got away with things. I just was looking like in amazement. But when I listen to my children, my oldest daughter is about to turn 40 and my youngest is 28. And when they talk about the things that he got away with and the things that the 30-year-old got away with, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I was actually a little bit better parent. So they got away with that and they slid. And what I think people don't realize is, much like every other development, parental development is important. And I think that's where the piece you talk about atonement would come in, because as we realize that it's very easy to repeat a parental pattern. You know, we raise our kids like our nana raised our moms and our moms raised us, and it's easy to do that because we're just mimicking what we see. I think we have to respect the maturity and the self-awareness that it takes for one to say, you know, my upbringing, you know, I'm here, I'm alive, they kept me alive, but let me look at some of the things that make me the person that I am, the things that I love and the things that I don't quite understand, or even the things that I see in myself that I don't particularly care for. And I think that's a maturity, you know, thing, because nobody wants to feel blamed. And I think that's a lot of where we see the disconnect now between the parents and the children, is because it's like, well, I'm like this because this is how you made me. And then it's like, you know, I have all this trauma, but what they don't realize is that even though your trauma looks like it looks, your parent has trauma that they didn't even know about. And they didn't even think of as trauma because that language wasn't being used. That focus and that lens wasn't being used in terms of helping us to understand who we are and what we were developing into. I can remember having my first child. Nobody came along and told me anything but how hard it was going to be. That's all they told me, is how hard I had just made my life, that I had just ruined my life. And that's a heck of a way to get started, you know, because it builds a tone for how you look at yourself, how you know, and what's still important to us, whether we want to admit it or not, how our families look at us, because we instantly go from being children to parents. And you know, we act like 9 months is enough to do that. 90 years is not enough to go from child to parent. I'm still trying to figure this thing out, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, every day that they get older, I have to figure out something else. You know, so you know, I think that, you know, if we would acknowledge that, okay, we get it, you got trauma, I'm sorry, but what are we going to do now? We can't go back and change it, but we can't keep blaming either, and we definitely can't keep repeating the pattern. And not having children at all is not the answer. Soft shoe when the children is not the answer. Being extreme when the children is not the answer. It's going to take a divine balancing, which is where the divine feminine and the reconnection to the original womb, and divine masculine connection to the original womb, because divine masculine is connected to the original womb. It has to be. You know what I mean? It has to be. So we have this divine masculine and feminine that takes place, in re-examining that and redirecting, you know, what we or should I say rewiring what we were taught to be the norm, and determining for ourselves what works in the dynamics that we have, because we know that every person is not the same. Every communication style is not the same. Every love language is not the same. We didn't use any of that language when I was a kid. My mother didn't know my love language. My love language was, girl, you better get in there. You know,
yes.
You know what I mean? And that's no fault on her. When you actually look at it, it's actually kind of funny. You know, and people won't agree with me on that sometimes, because I know the trauma hurts, and believe me, I have wells of it of my own. You know, I have wells of it. I'm working on it. I've been working on it. That's that shadow work that we have to do. That is the work that's going to reconnect us to the womb, is looking at those deep, deep scars. But at the same time, you can't wallow in that misery either. You can't stay inside that wound, because it's going to be infected. And it's going to keep infecting you over and over again, and everything that you produce after that. And that's what the womb does. It's a production plant. And what you put in, what you gestate, is what is manifest, what is born. And so when we wonder why our lives look the way they do, because you manifest and you are infested with old things that you just will not let go. Put some peroxide on that and drink some tussin and let's go. Because the peroxide and the tussin is everything.
Right. Right.
And whatever peroxide looks like for you and whatever tussin looks like for you. I'm not here to tell you that part. All I'm doing is reminding myself to have some grace for me, which in turn relates to the grace that I have for my mother. Because see, we don't even talk about what Nana might have did to mom.
Right.
Or what Nana's Nana might have did to mom or dad.
Right.
And why they are the way they are, why they talk the way they talk, why they behave the way they behave. So that means they raised us the way they did based upon their own things. So what, we going to keep going back and blaming folks? No. This is why the things we do here at MaWu Lisa Temple, like every winter, Retire Your Family Karma, is an opportunity to examine this stuff and be rid of it finally. Just be done with it.
Right.
And when it rears its head again, we now know what the symptoms look like, right? We know, oh, that's somebody starting to get sick. It's just like when you feel a little in your throat.
Yeah.
You'll learn to see those things in your family and pick up those patterns and put the salve on it, put the healing salve on it. And the healing salve is that nurturing that the divine feminine and divine masculine, when they work in tandem, are able to do for the family, and in turn offering us all the opportunity to experience paradise.
The bombs is coming in. It must be Aries season. Okay, it must be.
Hey, listen. Get it out the dirt. Let's do it.
Right. I want to play something from Dr. Ava Muhammad. For people who listen, they know how I feel about him. If not, you're going to learn today. Okay? You're going to learn today. So I want to play this and get your thoughts. We can continue this discussion real quick.
Thank you.
You gotta have knowledge for life. You gotta have knowledge.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the black man is not capable, or rather it is impossible for him to destroy himself. You and I cannot destroy ourselves, but we can make our lives miserable in making an incorrect choice. In my humble opinion, beloved, and I've been married 18 years, which looks like nothing compared to my brother and sister, but you can't tell Brother Darius and I, we're not the essence of marriage. Yeah, we've been married, we made it. Call everybody, tell them we made it. Because both of us came into that marriage, and as I mentioned in the youth conference, my husband underwent a very intense interrogation in the office of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the National House. And it was Reverend Maxine Walker who yesterday stood up and brought to my memory, because I was such a bundle of nerves, because I thought the minister was going to drive away my last hope. Because I was a good way on the other side of 30. And I was trying to plead with the minister with my eyes. He demanded of my husband to know, why do you want to marry my administrative assistant? For what? And where will you live? And how will you support her? Well, as I said yesterday, in civilized society, a man never approaches a woman directly. Never does a man in civilized society approach a woman, and worst of all, when I was coming up, they used to hiss. Psst. And I would say, do I look like a reptile to you? It took me a long time to meet up with my husband, who Allah made for me. His spirit came to me in the form of a well-made man, because I was in love with God when my husband came. I was not the boy. Someone said, oh, you played hard to get. I said, I don't play hard to get. I am hard to get. When a man really wants a woman, when a man desires a woman, and there is a difference between desire and urge. We mistake, sisters, sometimes urge for desire. He desires me. He doesn't desire you. He's experiencing an urge. What he truly desires is a believing woman. That's what he desires, because it is the quest for a believing woman that's going to make him a man. A male is, as Minister Farrakhan said, a man is an underdeveloped God. Now, Howard said, Brother Howard, as we open, Master Farad Muhammad came these 9,000 miles to make us gods. God means force and power. He did not come here for us to have a job working for the descendants of our slave masters. He did not come here for us to lust after celebrity in a low-life world. He came to make us gods. Now, how does an underdeveloped man become a god? He has to close a gap. This book, Closing the Gap. He has to close. There's an abyss between man and God. Now, how does man cross over that abyss? There is a bridge that Allah created from himself, from his own mind. And a man has to identify that bridge, then be able to cross that bridge. And that bridge is a dangerous, swinging bridge. It's a living organism. That bridge came from the depths of the mind of Allah, his subconscious mind, where he stored all of the knowledge and memory of how he created himself in triple darkness. And that bridge is called female. The second self of God. In her, he placed his comfort, his pleasure, that which sustained him through 6 trillion years of cold, pitch black loneliness.
Life, you gotta have it. You gotta have it. You gotta have it.
Yes. Yes, we could listen to that sister all day. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. You know, she's such a personable person, you know, like she just make you want to just sit down and just listen to her tell stories all day. That's a true storyteller. So thank you for sharing that.
So I wanted to get your thoughts. Did you hear anything that resonated with you in your path and life?
Absolutely. You know, a couple of things kind of went through, but I'm gonna go here. I'll go here with it. I remember hanging out with some of the Moors up at the North Gate, and we would talk. They were talking about Zodiacus, and they said that woman's greatest downfall was when she fell in love with her own creation, right? And I think about the modern day statement where it says that mothers or women love their sons and raise their daughters. And to the person that's hearing that for the first time, you know, the obvious that's sitting in front of your face is, well, okay, well, they love their sons and they just raise their daughters. But when we, you know, upon deeper investigation, we understand that in most mothers' intentions, the raising that they do of their daughters is because they understand the job of what their daughter is going to be later on. You know, it's sometimes difficult to have these type of conversations because everyone has become very, very sensitive, you know, with these words that we use. And the moment you say something that sounds like it may have an indication or connotation of weakness, people, you know, they buck up and start to defend themselves and no longer listen. So it's very difficult to have conversations about a woman being the true bridge that helps a man become a man. You know, we always talk about, you know, men raising men, which is very real, very true. But when it talks, it's a certain level of development that needs to take place that only the nurturing of a woman can support, you know, or lack thereof. And that's what we see in some of these men. When we see this lack of ability to lead, is because they have a lack of ability to tap in to the divine feminine without being made to feel like they being weak or punks or whatever the word they're using nowadays. Anything that allows a man to show compassion, softness, empathy is now looked upon as weak. And because of this, they stay in the warmongering mindset, and it separates the ability to be able to be a whole place and a whole man and a whole woman together, raising a whole family. So that's one of the things that I heard in there. And I'm so fascinated when I hear my sisters, either their old talks or some of their present day talks, when they talk about our desire to be wives. I was having the conversation. We were talking about it. I was talking about how when somebody had said to me that marriage is 50% of your deen, and then if you make your husband happy, you automatically get paradise. And if you raise your kids right, you get paradise too. So I was like, man, I got like a 89.99% chance, if I don't be the knucklehead that I am, to be able to get into this paradise. But what I recognized and realized was that it would be almost impossible, because the deep latent hate that has been poured into our men for our women. And it's the same statement of women loving their sons and raising their daughters. Our sons have been taught to resent us. for that very love that we gave them, because now they feel that makes them weak. See, it's this tricky dynamic that happens, and it takes very willing, open minds to navigate the propaganda, bullshit, and everything else that is clouded, that has clouded our ability to think for ourselves and realize this is the setup. This is the setup. Keeping this man and this woman separate is the setup. Keeping this woman separate from herself is the setup. Keeping this man separate from himself is the setup. It's a guarantee that they'll never be as great as we know they are. Because they have no idea. And we keeping them locked in trauma of all kinds. So listening to her and talking about how long they had been together and how it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to the minister and mother, you know, but it's an accomplishment. 18 years in this world, oh, that's an accomplishment. 18 days in this world, it's an accomplishment. You know, so I would pray that we pray for the ability to soften ourselves. You know, fear being hurt will keep you imprisoned. You know, sometimes you got to just know that it's going to hurt and do it anyway. You know, it's what they say, like ripping off the Band-Aid one time, pow. You know it's going to hurt, but it got to come off. It can't stay on there. And the same thing with this separation between us and the wombs that bore us. It is going to hurt to go back. You know, I laughed with the children one time because my daughter was talking about, I should just go back in the womb. I said, you should not. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Ain't no way. You know what I'm saying? Go in there, hide out. I don't think so, ma'am. You know, but just think about that. You know, unlike with the physical womb, it is very, 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 very necessary and impossible to go back into that womb here though. And here. And that is by recognizing the connection here, you know. So when we recognize that real connection and that we are part of everything that is and everything that will be, you now start to say to yourself, well, how do I want things to be? You know, how do I want things to be? I remember somebody describing paradise, right? And I said, what if that's not paradise for me though? You know what if somebody's paradise is, I don't know, open fields and stuff like that, but what if somebody else's paradise is mountains and rooms with books in it? Why get the paradise everybody else? I should get the paradise that fit the life that I had to endure to experience this thing. So that's when you start to ask yourself, maybe this paradise is not what people say it is or think it is. Maybe we need to examine this a little bit more. Maybe we need to examine why they say, you know, paradise lies at the foot of the mother. Are they talking about a mother, or are they talking about a way, a principle, a way of being, a way of navigating? And that takes us back to the Moors and maritime, the birthing of ships, and the docking, and the passing, and the nights, and all of these different things. The mooring, you know, the laboring. You understand? So, you know, when you go into the variety of scriptures, and we talked about that too, how everybody throw away all these books and not realize there's some real lessons in there. You know, in these scriptures, it tells us all about these things, you know, in different ways, you know, and, you know, giving you opportunities to examine it in different ways. You know, it's like having somebody do an original song and then like 4 different covers. They all sound great and they all offer something different, you know, but it's still the same. Because at the end of the day, the moral story is to make you understand whatever it is they're trying to convey.
Right.
And that's really what this is about. We really just trying to figure out what to do next while we waiting here. Like the sister said, we didn't come here to work. That's not what I came here to do. Not that kind of work. Not work for somebody that enslaved my people. What is this?
Right.
The biggest work is the jihad itself.
Right.
The fighting yourself, the refinement of yourself. That is where all of it begins and ends.
Right.
That is what the womb is about, the shaping and the molding and the gestation and the birth.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what it is, that we look at the world and we say, where do we see this? We see this in the Industrial Revolution. But that's also the place where the hate got greater than anything else. The separation between men and women got even greater during that time. Because as my mama said, the men thought they was doing something. They creating, you know, they got machines. But here we doing things just with our bodies, sitting here in the sunshine. Like, you know, I'm making something. What you doing? Making a baby, making a human. I'm making a human while you over there printing clogs and cogs and wheels.
Right.
You know, not that that's not important, but recognize I'm making a person.
Right.
You know, let's talk about your part in that. See, that's something we don't do. There's a great opportunity to reconnect us with the wounds that bore us. Let's talk about the father or the man's role in that gestation period and what he should be doing while that child is growing or while that idea is cooking.
Right.
You know, because we need to talk about that too, that, you know, bearing things from our womb don't always mean babies.
Right.
Some women don't have babies.
Right.
For all kinds of reasons.
Right.
But that does not separate them nor negate their duty to the universe.
Right.
They are still divine feminine, regardless of whether they have babies or not. That's not what makes us divine feminine, is having babies. That's not what do that.
Right.
So, you know, we have a lot of work to do. A lot of damage has been done. A lot of barriers and stumbling blocks have been put in place to keep us from our greatness. And it's only sheer determination. As my mama said, stubbornness, determination going to get us to where we need to be. I refuse to accept somebody else's reality for me.
That's it.
You know, like, it's insane. Why even be here? If somebody else can define what I'm supposed to be doing, this ain't my life then.
Right.
You can't tell me I have free will and then stop me from doing stuff. Tell me what I gotta do. Oh my goodness. Good luck with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you leave me alone, my natural flow is to uplift, is to nurture, is to love, is to create, to cook, to hug, to kiss. This is our nature. When left alone, when not damaged with all the indoctrination and the things that we told we supposed to be, i.e. because of gender roles or whatever it is, culture, background, neighborhood, economic status, none of that matters. At the end of the day, we are a full representation of divine feminine and masculine energy walking. We are gods. We are temples, and God dwells there. That's what the book tells us. We are temples, and God dwells there. So when we gonna act like it?
Right.
You know, so yeah, I get a little fiery on that.
I love it. It's every season. Look, you know, you already know. I'm already, you know. Yes.
I get a little fiery on that.
Yes. Yes.
Only because, you know, I've seen what it looks like to see people really happy. You know, like the sister was saying, you know, I'm sure that 18 years ain't been all sunshine and rainbows, but you can see the joy and the pride in her when she talk about her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And no, everybody doesn't want to be married. We're not talking about that. We're talking about joy here, people. Mm-hmm. You see her joy in being able to be her natural feminine woman self, mm-hmm. recognizing her job of supporting and raising up her husband and not having a problem with it because it doesn't threaten her femininity at all.
Right.
It actually shows the power
of
our femininity. And we talked about that in the fear of the power of the woman. This is another reason why they don't want us reconnecting with the wombs that bore us. It gives us too much power.
Right.
It's power in the blood. Didn't nobody tell you that story? Didn't y'all hear that song?
Right. They just heard
power
the remix. Yeah. They just heard the remix.
You know, listen, I tell you like this. Did you ever ask yourself why every religious house, church, masjid, synagogue, whatever, when a woman is on her cycle, they don't want her in there? Stay home. Don't come over here with that blood, that strong blood, that miracle blood.
Right.
Don't come over here with all that extra energy, hormones popping, magic talking coming straight out your mouth.
Right.
You know, and that's not to pick because that poison was put there.
Right.
You know, but if we don't laugh at some of this shit, we will be completely angry all the time. When we think about how we've been Rochambeaued, I'm telling you now, you will walk around with a straight attitude.
Right.
If you really think about how you've been played out from the beginning, before you could even talk, you was being played out. You was being set up. And it's only by the mercy and the grace that we are self-aware enough to be where we are right now, doing what we're doing right now, which is trying to do our best to refine ourselves, to live the true lives of this beautiful life that we've been given.
Right.
We didn't come here for just no nonsense. What are you on this planet for? Where are you even at? You see, that's a whole nother conversation. Where are you even at? Where are you even at? You talk about you on earth. Which one?
Right.
You know, somebody you want to go to heaven. Which one? So by the time we finish fighting each other, we'll realize that we done wasted so much precious time that we could be doing other stuff. That's what gets me so fired up about it. I got other stuff I want to do.
Right.
I don't feel all that fighting and stuff. Yeah. It's for the weird. You know, those weirdos who want to spend your whole day getting up, worrying about looking over your shoulder and who your enemy is, and did they poison my water? Did they poison my air? Did they poison my food? Did they send somebody to get me? Like that is exhausting.
Right.
But when you in touch with divine feminine, your intuition kick in. That's another part. Intuition in the womb. When you in the creative space, your intuition becomes greater. The things you hear and see the veil becomes thinner. The more you stay in that creative space, you able to see, where do you think these great inventions and things come from? You pull them from somewhere, but you can't do that when your mind is full of all the other stuff. And what does it always tell us? The illusion of separation from God.
Right.
Because that's what it is. Man thinks that he's separate from God when God dwells within. And we're not talking about mystery God. We are talking about the thing that animates and moves you. You are a flesh sack. Try stepping up out of there. You'll watch it drop to the ground.
Right.
You know? And then we don't even want to talk about what happens then. We don't even talk about that. But we can't have those kind of conversations until we realize we're not divided. We realize we are the creators. We realize that the connection is vital. Now, I think I would be remiss if I didn't say, I'm not speaking to the people whose experience with their parents has been one of physical domestic violence and all that stuff, like that has its own wounds that need to be healed. When we talk about, the negligence and the disconnect and all that, that's a healing. And again, that takes a level of maturity to be able to approach and be self-aware on both parties' parts to want to fix that and address that issue. So I'm not downplaying that in any way, because there is some real trauma that has taken place between mothers and their children, fathers and their children, that need to be addressed in a more, secure and therapeutic space that allows them to be able to hash out whatever that is. But in general, what I'm saying is that the connection and the neglect of the womb in terms of the microcosm and the macrocosm is that when we ignore the vastness of the creativity that is at our hand, the potential that is at our hand, we make ourselves small. We make ourselves almost invisible. We make this life worthless because you came here great to become greater.
Right.
You came here great to become greater. You came here to prove to yourself just how great you are. Right. That you can get it out the dirt, that you dwell inside and you can build it. You building man. Let us create man in our image. What am I imaging in this one? I'm imaging about, we really overcomplicate some things, and some things it's real simple if you just are allowed to sit there with it and really be aware of what it is you're going and looking for. And even if you don't know what you're looking for, being open enough to know that there is something to find. And that's what the womb is: potential, full of it, limitless. So when you cut relations with the wounds that bore you, you cut your resources off. You cut out all that you can be to accept just this little piece of what you think you are.
Right. I'm trying my best to contain myself over here, but you already know I want to. So I'll just do this. I was on this platform right here with Miss Blue, the Soulful Oracle, and I asked her about reconnecting with the womb. And she gave me, the Soulful Oracle, Miss Blue, Mama Blue answer, right? She gave me that look like as if you could disconnect from the womb. As if you could. You understand what I'm saying? She looked at me like, child, please, as if you could disconnect. So, they show you the umbilical cord type of situation, and you over there cutting the cord, and you thinking you severed the connection as if it was that simple, right? The audacity of mankind. Right? The audacity of mankind in that way, in this hospital. And you know what my mother said, hospital. The audacity of man to think that this sort of aspect of nip tuck, this cutting situation, and when you deal with soul ties, cord cutting, right? They tell you about the cord cutting ritual, right? In that regard, as if you could, right? As if you could. Now, allowing access and for it to be, doing all of these things, there are things that you can do to get some things away from you, but it's still with you. They're still with you. Now, to what level or degree? The Holy Bible said, my spirit shall not always dwell with man because he is of flesh. Dwell with man, strive with man in that regard because he is of flesh, right? In Genesis, he talks about that. So there's an aspect in regards to this place that you were just speaking of. God is not with you anymore, right? So now you forgot. What would they call that? They would call that baby brain, right? You come to the womb and you go through the birth canal, right? And you go through that Hedina Sarata Mustaqim, right? You go through that straight path, that middle path, into the realm of incarnation, and now you forgot. But everybody don't forget. You understand what I'm saying? And we do a great job of a bad job of not nurturing that and not preparing for our ancestors' return arrival. So the physical thing is a manifestation of all of these other things that we've neglected. So a child has to be born in this way as a reminder of who and what exists inside of you. Think of your thoughts. If you treated your child like your thoughts, and some do, you would see the procrastination, you would see the neglect, you would see the burdensome aspects in regards to that. But if you were reminded that each one of your thoughts was a child, and based upon how you treated that child, how you nurtured that child, what you made manifest with that child, you would be judged by. How many of the thoughts that came to you miraculously, right, would you say, oh, I'll do that next week, if we were mindful of those thoughts? So you become pregnant with an idea that you can't turn off. And the gestation space that exists within your mind and in your being in that kind of way. The audacity of you to say, oh, I'll do that later. The disobedience to the thought that came into your mind that traveled at 24 billion miles per second and it resonated with you. You remember that thought? It stayed. It stuck. It passed that process in regards to what it is, and you procrastinate with it, or you start it and you don't finish it, right? You be all over the place with it. And then you want your child who comes into the physical world with all of that information front loaded, and you thinking, oh, okay, I got this. I'm going to do this right here, and I'm going to exert my authority over this thought as if this child ain't witnessed your thoughts and what you do with your thoughts. Like we're not connected.
The whole
Like the
process.
cosmic womb, like all this whole process coming with your best genetics, right? Your best genetics. 33 and the third from the mother, 33 and the third from the father, and 33 and the third of their own. This 100% of this thought that went through all of this gestation and trimesters and trials and tribulations of the womb, unseen, to be seen and heard before the world, and you just gonna be like, all right, yeah, I got this. Not being mindful the entire time of what you're ingesting, who you're around, all of those things. So the other aspect you were talking about in regards to the brother in that place, we got one job, fam. We got one job. Understand what I'm saying? Like you were supposed to be mindful of what came from your divine mind and what she allowed out of her mercy and her grace to bless you. You don't know what that's like. You ain't got to feel none of that. And if y'all in one accord, you might even feel a droplet of what she endures physically. If y'all in on one accord. If she's ailing, you feel it and know. So your space in regards to physical, emotional, and spiritual protection should be on 1,000. You should be a predator out here walking around. Because we were talking.
Well,
about
I mean, I think that does happen for some men. As a mother of 5 sons,
right?
I think that when a young man has a child, especially a female child, something clicks inside them. I think when they have a male child, one thing clicks. But when they have a female child, something else clicks. And you kind of see it, that you see the difference even in their behavior a lot of times. That's when a lot of people want to really clean themselves up. And I think that's a wonderful thing, honestly. You know what I mean? I think it's a wonderful thing that the child is a reminder that you're here to refine and to lead. You know what I'm saying? You're here to refine and to lead.
Yeah. He should be prepared before that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be prepared before that. Hopefully in that instance, I've seen men change in regards to, children. There's a preparation. And I was saying hopefully because the new book that's coming is a rites of passage volume. A rites of passage volume in regards to boyhood into manhood and girlhood into womanhood and then into parenthood, into mother, fatherhood, and then into grandparenthood. So this volume will exist in regards to every one of those aspects. And the ones that are in between, what does it mean to be a brother or a sister? What does it mean to be a daughter and a son? So giving due regard to every aspect of those things in between. Well, what about midlife crisis? How can we create safe spaces, right? Where you were saying, bury your family trauma, that's the type of situation. I believe wholeheartedly that I will begin to start to work with people who will create sacred zones where you ain't nobody's mother or father, you ain't nobody's daughter or son, where you can go and commune and be who you are. Cheers used to be on. Cheers used to be one of my shows back in the day when I was a little youngster. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
It's your name, yeah.
So when Norm came in there, look, his name is Norman, but he was the norm, right? Good afternoon, everybody. Norm. Everybody knew Norm up in that place. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're creating an environment like that, that's an environment where the mailman and the psychiatrist was in the same place. and everybody had the same drink. You understand what I'm saying? So that kind of environment where you don't have to be anything in that moment other than, enjoy it. So people came in there with their problems and they left with solutions, whatever the case may be. So even the people who are aspiring, right? Aspiring. The young people is like, oh, I'm thinking about having children. They can come in that environment and they're not getting laughed at, they're not getting berated. They can get some wisdom in regards to that. Oh, I'm looking at I got this going on with the family. They can come in that environment and glean from the wisdom, the lived experiences. Because the fool can only teach you how to be a bigger fool. You understand what I'm saying? So if they, they dealing with that, they dealing with that. So that environment where mother, grandmother, all of them are there in that space to be able to, pour into the next generations of the life bearers and the life givers in that regard. So, they might call this eldership society, whatever the case may be. You can term it whatever you want to term it. But I say sacred zones because what's shared there is sacred. So if you're going to a space where it's a sacred zone, due regard is given to you and to the space that you exist in. Where the children can be children, they don't have to be nobody's son or daughter in that realm, and they can express their ideas of what they're going through in regards to their experience. Something that a sacred place where they can be themselves, their individuality. They ain't got to be nobody's older brother, nobody's older sister. You understand what I'm saying? Like they can just be them. They can have those spaces as an outlet and a resource. A lot of these programs that we build had that intent in mind, and then after a while, the greed or the scarcity comes in, one or the other, right? And we don't have enough of this, or we don't have enough of that, or we got too much of this, and then what it was intended for, it gets lost in translation. So those zones in regards to
that. I love that. Excuse me. I love that. And we have a sanctuary here where people can take hiatus and and go into solitude. We've had some silent retreats and things like that, and we've been able to experience some of that space where we just allow people to just be themselves, be out in the property and just do that. And I want to just be sure to add back into what you're saying, that it's just as important to have spaces where people learn the dynamics of relationships, because what is it to be a sister? What is it to be a brother? What is it to be an aunt? What is it to be an uncle? Like, it's great for us to go in these spaces and not be anything to anyone and just experience the freedom of just being yourself for a second and not being anything for anyone. But at the end of the day, we are all helpmates to each other, and we examine each other consciously and unconsciously for morals, values, principles, etc. You know what I'm saying? Ways of being. And when you were talking about Cheers, which was one of my favorite shows, when you were talking about Cheers, we do a lot of metaphysical breakdowns on shows and movies and things like that. And Norm sat on the very end of the square. So when he came in, he sat, the door was here. He had a straight beeline right to the edge. And like you said, on this side of him was the post office man and this thing. And on this side of him was these people. But then you had all these background people in the back that never say nothing, that you never hear nothing from. You got people upstairs. They show you that there's people upstairs, but they never include them in the actual show. It's always these same few characters that interact with each other. Out of all the people that come and go, it's these few characters that interact with each other because At the end of the day, the moral of the story is learning how to be in community and still be yourself, to be normal, whatever that means. You know what I'm saying? What is norm? But also in proximity to what is confidant, because they have this in a bar, and we know that bartenders become confidants, and you know, so it's like it's a whole story and a whole dynamic there that talks about exactly what you're saying, which is having these spaces where we could just go be ourselves, but we are learning in those spaces just by being there. Just by allowing people to be who they are naturally and organically, your relationships will develop, and they will and you'll see, because look at Diane and Sam. You know what I mean? They came together. She got with the smarty-arty doctor. Wasn't what she thought it was going to be. Wanted to be back with the old regular schmegular dude, but you know he too goofy. So it's like it's such a great show in the way of what you're talking about, is because it does allow for that playground, a space for you to just be yourself, but also still very much learning. And I think that's where, if we were going to coin a term, edutainment, that's what that should look like. That's what our lives really should look like, edutainment. We are learning and we are doing. You know what I'm saying? We are and staying entertained. Why not? Do you see all the beautiful things here to do? Why not? We got waterfalls and mountains and trails and trees and flowers and birds and fishies, and we got all these things that we can be enjoying in our normal natural state with each other. You know, like that sounds like paradise if they was describing it, you know. And what we create otherwise is that hell, you know. So yeah, I
Right.
totally agree with you, and I look forward to spaces like that, and I look forward to that rite of passage book. You know, Naeem Akbar was one of my master teachers that really talked about that rites of passage importance. And so I'm glad to see, you know, you taking that on that mantle of, you know, reestablishing what that can and should look like in our community in today. So thank you for your work. And for those who don't know, Knowledge will be back on Unread, talking to us some more about his books, the additions to the book series, talking about the fundraiser. We got to help him get this into a documentary, y'all. We got so much work to do. We don't have time to be doing all this extra stuff. So reconnecting with the wounds that bore us, this is what this is.
Right.
Like my daughter said, we all in here.
Yeah.
We all in the womb.
That's
you
it.
know, we all in here. So we should be having a good time.
Right. The planet womb, every aspect, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we here on every level.
Absolutely.
So that goal for that healing environment is, you know, twofold. You know, you may not. I went back to another TV show, Fantasy Island, right? You remember Fantasy Island?
Yes.
Yeah. You thought you was going to go be on vacation, but you got some life lessons. You understand what I'm saying? So you're in this environment. Yeah, you're in this environment, but you found something, right? The Love Boat, you found something, like regardless to what it was, Highway to Heaven, right? You found something out along this path and this journey with, you know, Mark and Jonathan. You understand what I'm saying? Like in this car driving up and down this road, you know, in this big body vehicle, right? So you're seeing all of these pathways along the way, all of these aspects of life that's happening, what's happening over here. And I think that was a groundbreaking series in regards to advocating for the physically challenged as well. They did a great job of ushering those things in regards to that at a time where those things were considered risque. So the time and the effort, it's like, all right, like, so we got an idea of an angel. It's like, all right, it's more work. Duke don't even, like, he don't eat. he don't sleep. You understand what I'm saying? So and then he just gotta wait on an assignment, and he on the assignment, and then he has to connect with somebody who can help him along the way and keep him, motivated in regards to that. And he's like, oh, I want the stuff, and he gets the stuff, and he's like, I don't want the stuff no more. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like it's an aspect in regards to that when you're looking at what somebody's lived experience, and both of y'all are going on the same path, right? Both of y'all are going on the same path together with two different vantage points, but it's on the same road and the same destination. They in the same car, right? So, every year I watch that program and go back through and see, okay, what am I missing in this regard, that regard, from these perspectives? Because when you speak with people, we get into the holy writings, people want to fight, but they ain't about to fight you about the television show or, some record that they heard, unless they, die hard or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? But the aspects of the story telling and how these things are presented, and there was a level of boldness in cinema that used to exist that no longer exists. They confronted issues and things like that, and they talked about them and sorted them out. You see what I'm saying? And regardless of what the conflict or the struggle was, in the end, there was going to be a resolution of some type. It wasn't, you know, uh, everything in regards to, like you were saying about marriage. It ain't all rainbows and whatever the case may be, but whatever it is, it's going to be. Whatever that is, that's going to be. So, it was some great aspects in regards to that. So a lot of those shows that I watched when I was younger, going back and looking at them, I didn't know how off the chain a different world was as a child versus looking at it as an adult. And I'm like, yo, this was all right. I could have did without all of this right here. You understand what I'm saying? But then finding these other aspects of the comedic value is like, oh, okay. So if she wasn't in this show and she wasn't in this show, it would be kind of corny. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, all right. So they depended on them heavily for their improv, and you start to think about what these aspects were in regards to that. These are aspects like Woody Harrelson's character versus Tony Danza's character, because Cheers came from that combination of Dear John and Taxi. So this is how Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito, they were together as a couple. So that was their through line in regards to what it was, where she was and where he was. And I think the upstairs concept back from Cheers that came from, they went to go see that boss every once in a while upstairs. Like they never really, shared what that was. So there was a bunch of, shows that they kind of put together along the way based off of the same group of writers. And then they did the Frasier show and all of these other spinoffs that came from, what they did once that thing became something that they had, that people were attracted to. So stories within the stories.
And I think it's interesting that we mentioned, just throw in there as a bonus piece of information, that it was Frasier. It was him who did the Girlfriend series, all Black women. Right. And different aspects of the Black women. He had the divorcee with a child. He had the young one who was experimenting with her sexuality. He had the hardworking girl, and we had the girl who was the slicks, the diva, get it, Anyway, it was very interesting to watch that show, and know who wrote it, and to see the way it was received in our community. And it goes to what I was saying to Roxy yesterday when she was on Unread, and shout out to Pronoia Starseed podcast, Sister Rael. She was over on it. She brought a book and she was showing the authors, and I was talking to her about representation. Who is telling our story? Why is it always someone else telling our story? Why is it a European male telling a Black woman's story? What could he possibly know about my story that I don't know? That I don't know, that I can't be telling?
Right.
You know, and why does he feel the need to tell my story?
Right.
And it's and you know, and like I said to her, they do wonderful job. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I'm not saying they depicted us wrong or anything. I'm just asking why they don't look like us telling our story. Right. What are we doing that we can't be telling our own story? Oh, we working. Right. Oh, we trying to get it out the dirt. We at the welfare office. We at the what do you call it? The jailhouse visiting our husbands and our brothers and our cousins and uncles. Right. We at the community center trying to help the domestic violence ladies on the block. We out here raising money for coats and book bags, and this is what we do. But this is why we can't tell our story. But that is our story. Right. We should be telling it as we doing it. And that's why what you're doing is so important. And that's why what our other authors and you know and storytellers are doing why it's so important. Because somebody should be telling a story as this is going along. Somebody should know my Nana story. My Nana worked hard. Right. My Nana worked hard. And she raised 3 strong daughters and a strong son who are no longer with us. Somebody should be telling their story. Right. You know what I mean? Who's telling my story? I know, listen, I done got it out the dirt. I got a pretty interesting story. It's like a lot of other people's. A lot of other people can resonate with my story because it was theirs too. Right. We are not alone. And that's the importance of storytelling too. That's right. Because sometimes you ask yourself, like, what is this? Does anybody else see what's going on? Like, you know? So, you know, I just think it's important that, you know, we do have these spaces, and I look forward to and I support a space where we can do rites of passage. It was a lot that I had to learn on the fly. You know, let's move back to why we're here. We're here talking about negligence of the womb. I didn't know, even though my mother, because we started this asking me my thoughts on being a mom, and I started with being a daughter, and then I talked about being a sister and how that came with the foundation of being a mom. But what my mother couldn't prepare me for is some of the things that was going to happen in between. So when it say that she might have loved my brother, but she raised me, you know what? That the way she raised me was love. Because without the way she raised me, I wouldn't have been able to make it out here. You know, and sometimes and I think what happens is we don't have that conversation with our daughters. You know, we'll yell it at them. I'm doing this because the world ain't gonna treat you nice. You know, but not explaining to her, hey, yo, let me tell you, the world done dragged me by my titty, yo. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I'm just trying to keep your titties intact, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help you stay. I'm trying to help you stay and be what I couldn't stay or be. They wouldn't let me. You know what I'm saying? That's the other conversation. Cutting relations with the wombs, their boys and ties. Oh, you know, these women, they so masculine. Yeah. Why? Why, y'all? You think this is what I feel like doing with my time? Don't you know I love baking and cooking and twirling around in pretty dresses? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, leave me alone. I'm like, what? Leave me alone, yo. And I don't, you know, it's like, I love my daughters so much, and I think they don't, and I'm not gonna say they don't know I love them, but sometimes I think they don't know the depth of why I love them. Like, I watched them be something that I could have never been or did in the condition that I was in. I could have never been as free as they are. As free as they are. They say what they say. They say what's on their mind. They say what they mean and they mean what they say. They have no problems with setting boundaries. You know, I had all kinds of challenges with that. I didn't know how to do none of that. Nobody taught me. So rites of passage, they're important. You know, my oldest daughter went through the Queen of Fua school. I remember when Queen of Fua first wrote her book, my daughter got one of the first copies. We was in lecture together on Littleton Avenue in Newark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been on this lecture circuit for a minute. You know what I mean? And what I've seen is I've seen some great work be done, but I see we got so much more to do, because the one thing we still keep fighting with is, one, like you said, the separation issue, thinking we separated. And that comes from neglecting of the womb, not knowing what the womb is, right? And not only that, the fear, like I said, of being hurt, rejection, pain. Like once you've experienced that more than once, it's no wonder you don't want to feel it again. It doesn't feel good. You know, and you ask yourself, why does this keep happening to me over and over? There's a lesson there, baby. But why I gotta learn it like this? I don't know. I don't know. And that's another thing we need to do. We need to learn to say, I don't know. I know with my mom, we thought she knew everything. We thought we couldn't even say she did nothing wrong. My children, they have no problem. My children have no problem. Let me know what I done did right, and especially what I done did wrong. And that takes some getting used to. You know, that takes some getting used to, somebody critiquing your parenting style after not having no classes, you know, and you sitting there trying to say you did the best you could. This is where the defense comes from. This is where the separation comes from. And again, like I said, we need to, you know, it's hard, but bringing levity to it and bringing understanding, compassion, empathy to it is what'll actually save us, you know?
That's right. So your final remarks, your final thoughts. I know you got some events coming up. I know you got some events as soon as tomorrow. You understand what I'm saying? Tomorrow. I love you. Tomorrow. Okay?
You know, that's my song.
All right. So please tell the people what you got going on. Tell people
first,
where they can find you,
thank you for having me. You know, thank you for having me here. It's always so much fun. And I always tell myself I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna stay real calm and I'm gonna be all calm and everything. And I get on here and I just get so excited and it just get the best of me and I'm laughing and giggling and being loud and I love it. Just being myself. This is my safe space. So thank you for allowing me to be over here and be a part of Do the Knowledge Radio family and always, you know, appreciating and respecting this space. So thank you, especially during Women's History Month. I really feel honored. You know, what do we have coming up? A continuation of this discussion and others, actually. You know, we do Human Rights Week in December. And that's part of the winter studies and the winter works that we do. So the continuation of that in the spring and summer are our unmasking morality talks. We do 4 of them once a month. So one for March, one for April, one for May, and one for June. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Zoom will be the first one. We are there talking about what are morals. How do we decide and determine the moral compass? Who decides that? You know, what do morals look like in the shaping of humanity in the past, what it looks like now, and what we can do for our future. So we'll be touching on some of that tomorrow. And we tell people that this is not a space, the time that we put together for these kind of talks is not a space for us to say we fixed the problem, but they're a place for conversations to get started and for people to begin to look outside the scope of what they've been indoctrinated to see as, you know, the situation for what our world looks like, and accepting what is being done, because it would be impossible to look at the world as it is and not see the myriad of problems that we need to address, and how morals are the base of some of the issues that we have, poor morals and lack thereof. So that's what we'll be talking about in that unmasking morality. We will continue with the healing chambers that'll be back in the end of the month, on Thursdays. Every other Thursday, there'll either be a pre-recorded or live episode of the healing chambers. And the healing chambers is a space where we talk about healing in all aspects of self: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and otherwise. We just tell stories about, another storytelling space where we talk about our healing process and what has helped us to be able to hear some of those spaces. So we also bring some books there, because we talk about some of the books we used along our journey to assist us in that area of healing and growth. So for example, some of the soul work we were talking about, Dr. Michael P. Newton, Journey of the Souls, talking about, this life, past lives, past life regression, things like that. So a lot of the tools that people use to heal themselves. And then on Saturdays, every other Saturday, I'm with my brother Nick doing unread book review with Nick and Roo. We have a wonderful time over there talking about unread books, reread books, new books, old books, books that we have authors come on and talk about, instruction manuals, all things books. We are nerds truly in that space of just loving books, and we love to have people on to talk about. Like I said, we had Foxy Roxy Pronoia on yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. So other than that, we have some individual things going on. Always support. MaWu Lisa Temple will support your events. Always let us know what you got going on, and we'll have some folks that will be willing to support you. There are a couple of sisters doing some things on domestic violence coming up, some programs on that. We have Sister Gemini Mama Hita over on school doing a classroom over there. Right now she's done a lot of things by invitation only. So get with Gemini, the Gem Oracle, the Hood Oracle. She'll get you on in there. That's one of those Gemini women's, one of our warriors. She's been on the healing chambers. She's been over here with you, hasn't she? And so she is an amazing sister. She got, like I said, the school thing going on. And Nick, my brother Nick got numeralytics and his things coming up in person and online. So everybody's staying busy. We are doing the community work and just doing our best to uplift fallen humanity. So however we can be a support to you, can always reach out to us through DMs, on Instagram at MaWu Lisa Temple 1, email MaWuLisaTemple@gmail.com, and over on YouTube, MaWu Lisa with a Z 4610 is where you'll catch our videos.
Queen Mother, it's been an honor and a privilege. You understand what I'm saying? I think we got it. So I got to get on your calendar so we could do like some mother talks. You understand what I'm saying? Not mother talks, some mother talks. You know what I'm saying? On a monthly basis, mother talks. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Once a month we get together and talk some mother. You understand what I'm saying?
It's always a lot to talk about with mother. We had some amazing mothers, and yes. I always look forward to doing things to just show how great she is and becoming a better and better woman every day. Her and my father, I pray that they are pleased. I just want to hear well done. That's all you want to hear is well done. So
I just want to hear my mama say, go to bed. You understand? Go to bed.
Hey, listen. I want my mother to say it's okay for me to have that extra piece of pumpkin pie or something. Yeah. She's like, yeah, you can have that extra piece of pie. See, that's the win right there. You know, that's the win. It's little things that make us happy. And, you know, again, like I said, it's a joy to be over here. This is where I find my joy, in being with our family and being in these safe spaces, in these sharing spaces, in these healing spaces. Because, you know, I'm all about us healing and healing together and out loud. You know, I say we suffered in silence. I know I suffered in silence. I refuse to heal in silence. Oh no, we healing nice and loud. I'm all out here. I'm making all the noise.
We outside.
I'm making all the noise. I'm doing all the kiosks. I'm doing all the kiosks. You know, I want them all. You know, so.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. Thank you for the truth that you shared with us. I told you she don't play no games, okay? She don't play about me and she don't play with me. So hopefully y'all got the gist. All right? Y'all got the gist. And we will see you back here next time. And I will be on Unread. Shout out to Nick. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my brother, Nick. Everywhere I go, Nick is there. All right? Everywhere I go, Nick is there. That's that Jersey connection. You understand?
Yes.
Jersey up in this one. You understand what I'm saying? So,
those brick children.
Yes, us brick children. You know what I'm saying? Brick children out here. I love you, Queen Mother. Honor to you, honor to your family, your children, your grandchildren, all over the planet, and all of those earth seeds, star seeds, air seeds, and cosmic beings that come through you and flow through you. So,
thank you. Thank you.
We up out of here. Go mind somebody else's business, all right?
Peace, y'all. Thank you.
You don't know the universe because you don't know God, because you don't know yourself. Look at the sperm. There is intelligence in the sperm. It knows exactly what it wants to do. It goes straight for the egg. That is intelligence. The sperm does not have a brain, but it has a head and a tail. When the sperm makes contact, it's the first cell of life. That cell starts looking for a firm resting place. Then it builds a clot. There is intelligence in the clot. Then the cells produce brain. Without a head, you don't need arms. The brain is the first thing formed. The thing that is going to direct the arms has to be first. It is the head that calls the arms and feet into existence. This is why the white man works to destroy your leaders. Without a head, you cannot call a body into existence. This is why you are always without organization. You never have leadership. Your leadership comes up, and when they spot it as good leadership, they wipe it out. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that God had to develop brain in order to think through darkness. It took pain and eons of time for God to build himself up in the darkness. He was the light of himself and had light in himself. Since the basis of his life is electricity, he had light in himself for his own brain. From his own brain, he envisioned the sun and then called it into existence. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said Allah formed himself not from a mother, but out of the dark womb of space. Space and the darkness of it became his womb. And he came out of that darkness. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, before there was sun, there was a woman. Allah came out of the womb of darkness with a womb within himself. Every man has a woman in him. If you notice, the male has X and Y chromosome, which has male and female part. The female has X chromosome. As Allah came out of that womb, the Holy Quran calls it triple darkness. He had a womb within himself. He studied himself, and from himself, he fashioned woman. She is his first act of creation. The woman is made after the womb, out of which God created himself, and in the woman is the secret of God. The universe, all praise is due to Allah. All of this is from Minister Farrakhan, just a few paragraphs. Now here is where we drop the bomb on Stephen Hawking.
Here, the centuries of loneliness were to end.
Your collection of Leonardo da Vinci masterpieces, Mr. Flint.
They appear to have been recently painted.
On contemporary canvas with contemporary materials.
Then, age, death, the taste of dust. Do you understand?
You wanted a perfect, ultimate woman. As brilliant, as immortal as yourself. Your mate for all time.
Merkaba master, I charter demons to other worlds, drive devils to plaster, rush them to hell, breathing asthma, place Satan on gurneys next to Hermes, send them off to their journey to Cleopatra. They read those chapters, egos captured, the Leo laughter, neoplasma, run through my veins in this matrix, and my basement became a plaza, and now I'm in the Sky Lounge, with negative spirit hackers, build on math and we read the chapters, observe through our windows at the quiet disasters, riots at NASA, marches, gender pride, freedom rights for the masses, till we do away with first and second citizen classes. Religion is backwards, trying to comprehend to the pastor. This gym is like Jasper. Either we all live and strive for the youth to survive, or it all ends with the rapture. Forget waiting on the man, I'm making a plan. And for the ages of false statements, I'm taking a stand. Start an investigation on Satan with a cross in my hand. Make him plead guilty, now face the jury. We're in the courts of I am. If I could just vanish from off the planet, like magic, become caught from granite. Days, mathematics is understanding.
Hey, hey, did you hear? This is the perfect place to disappear. Oh, hey, did you hear? This is the perfect place to disappear.
A billion stories in the naked city. Ghost told me that his best friend needs a kidney. We froze, reminisce of Tiffany in the cold. Open whiskey from the 20s in the memory. Sympathy made the angels play a symphony. Said he could've had a scholarship. Toured different colleges. Now he's out of it, fading away slowly on dialysis. His name remained anonymous, but here's my acknowledgements. Street legends and hood guards. Kingdom fall into a mirage. Ghetto depression sets in. Then we place weed and cigars. A child has difficulties concentrating. From where he lives, he sees his promises fading. He sees his pops gone, his mom's is aging. She trying to stay strong for a church congregation. And meanwhile, a kid named Rico was the coke king. A lot of siblings of the dope fiends hope you scream. A lot of children with broken dreams, homes were clean. The most extreme, you got rich and what you sold to queens. Look what you did to Josephine. And Ebony is unheavenly. The devil's ready with open wings. As Lucifer uses love and his youthful mug. Then his blood on the cobra's fangs.
Hey, hey, did you hear? This is the perfect place to disappear.